Well, hello, my name is Chris Turner, and I want to welcome you to the Pastoral and Spiritual Care and Ageing and Palliative Care unit online. It's great to be with you. This is my first time delivering an online unit, and for some of you I know it's your first time studying online. I know the counselling students will be well and truly well versed in this process, so enjoy learning from you actually what it means to learn together online as well. But welcome. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say hello and to introduce myself. I'm the lecturer in Pastoral and Spiritual Care at Stirling College, and it's my privilege to be able to journey with you throughout this semester in this vital discussion together. We'll be asking all kinds of questions about spirituality, spiritual care, what it means to offer spiritual care in the midst of the ageing process, and indeed in the midst of the process and the experience and journey of palliative care. Great to be with you. What is ageing? That's perhaps the question that underlies much of what we'll be doing together and discussing together in the next few months. We know, of course, that we begin the process of ageing as soon as we're born, really. The deeply embedded physiological processes of living that scientists sometimes call homeostatic regulation, which is just a fancy term for those inbuilt processes that maintain the conditions under which we can stay alive and be alive. We know that all of those processes include the process of ageing and ultimately of dying. For after all, if we as individuals of our species never died, then our entire species would not be able to be sustained by its environment. And so we know this from observing cancerous cells and viruses and other forms of organism that do not regulate their own collective existence in their environment, and so their environment cannot sustain their existence anymore. And so we know from those processes, those forms of life, that part of living is in fact about ageing and dying. The great philosopher, theologian, physician, musician Albert Schweitzer once called this process of collective living and dying together the will to live amongst other wills to live. The implicit physiological understanding that living and dying and the continuation of that cycle is part of maintaining life for our entire species. So ageing is not to be feared, even though we often fear it. It's not to be seen as alien or foreign to what it means to being human, though often we respond to ageing and the aged as though they are a disease, as though ageing itself is a disease. To be sure, diseases often, though not always, accompany the ageing process. But ageing is not synonymous with disease. Ageing, like every aspect of our human living, is rich with the potential for meaning and creativity, for spirituality. Ageing, then, is about changing. It's about the passage of time. It is the natural growth, flourishing, and eventual ending of a living organism that is evident in the physiological, social, creative change that occurs through the passage of time. So ageing is part of being human. It's part of who we are. When we talk about spirituality and spiritual care in relation to ageing, what are we talking about? Again, Albert Schweitzer, that wonderful person from last century, called this will to live that he spoke of the first pre-conscious spiritual act of evolving organisms. He understood this spiritual act to be built into the physiology of all living organisms. And in human beings, it finds its fullest expression in our pursuit of meaning and relationship in the world. And one of the deepest and most profound historical languages for that meaning and relationship are the languages of our religions, our cultures, and our spiritualities. Spiritual care is a form of social pursuit of meaning and relationship. It is rooted not so much in the therapeutic desire for healing, but in the more deeply organic desire for meaning and relationship, no matter what our circumstances are. It is the will to live life full of meaning and full of relationship. As such, even when I am succumbing to death, my whole self as an organism is deeply aware of its social dimensions, seeking meaning and creative participation beyond myself. I can see past my individual existence and into the future of the whole of life, which is beyond me. As such, when we talk about spiritual care and ageing, we will find ourselves talking about the shared pursuit of meaning that may include the meaning of physical changes in the process of ageing, sexuality, relationships, our relationship to earth and nature, our life experiences, memory, narrative, the getting and the loss of wisdom, dementia and Alzheimer's disease, the approach to death and the many small deaths that accompany that journey, cultural approaches, different cultural approaches to ageing, religious approaches to ageing, migration and ageing, the challenges that come with those things. All of these human experiences are rich with meaning and rich with relationship for us. When we spiritually care for one another, we do not attempt to help each other to escape the reality of living and ageing. We do not fall into the trap of what Kenneth Leach calls pathological religion, which fails us by seeking ways to help us escape from being human. No, spiritual care establishes our common humanity. Spiritual care is essentially about establishing mutual and common humanity through the attention of deep listening to one another and extending the invitation to another person to be safely held in a space within which it is possible to discover one's own spiritual resources and to construct one's own sense of meaning, hope, and relationship to the world. So I'm really looking forward to the questions we will ask together, the conversations we will hold together, the answers we will attempt together, and to the ongoing journey of growth and understanding into what it means, firstly, to age in a meaningful and creative and relational way, and what it means to care for one another in a way that nurtures those spiritual depths in all of us. Looking forward to being with you in the next couple of months.